everyone, welcome to today's guide on virtual machines. First, I'll be explaining about Hyper-V, virtual machines, and the history of virtual machines. After that, I'll be showing you how to set up virtual machines on Hyper-V. Then, I'll be talking about some other short little tips that may help you run the virtual machine better than ever before. After this tutorial, you will learn the basics of virtual machines and Hyper-V. Let's get right into it. Now, one of the questions that may pop up in your head while watching this video is, what is Hyper-V? Well, Hyper-V is a virtualization product made by Microsoft in 2008 and continue to make new Hyper-V operating systems like Windows Server 2008 R2, Windows Server 2012, and Windows Server 2016, etc. It allows you to make virtual machines with only one computer. But then another question may pop inside of your head, and that question is, what are virtual machines and virtualization? Well, the best way to explain it is to go back in time when virtual machines weren't really a thing. If you wanted to make a Windows server, you would have to purchase a brand new PC that includes a lot of expensive items like the processors, the motherboard, the RAM, hard disks, etc. And plus, you would have to buy a Windows operating system. And if you were to make another Windows server, you would have to buy all the hardware again, plus you would have to buy the Windows operating system. A few years had passed of using this strategy for businesses, and as computers became more powerful, there was a new strategy called dual booting. This is where you could boot up more than one system. Well, of course, with every upside, there comes a downside. Although you can save some money with this strategy, you could only boot up one operating system at a time. For example, if you had a Windows 10 operating system on your computer and a Windows 8 operating system, you have an option to boot up one of the systems at a time while booting. So basically, you have to shut down one of the operating system to use another one. For a few years, dual booting was the only way you could actually run two operating systems inside of only one computer, until the big boy came in, virtualization. Virtualization basically allowed you to create virtual machines, which are basically everything you wanted for dual booting. It allows you to make virtual machines, which are basically operating systems running inside of operating systems. You could have multiple operating systems inside of your PC, and you could just put the virtual machines side by side at the same time. When the Hyper-V rogue races on a Windows server that was chosen becomes the host, and every other virtual machine are called guests. After a Windows virtual machine is made, there is an operating system installed onto it. And here is a surprise. It does not have to be a Microsoft operating system. With Windows servers, you can have this list of operating systems available for your virtual machine. The following are Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2012 R2, Windows Server 2011, Windows Small Business Server 2011, Essentials and Standard, Windows Server 2008 R2, Windows Server 2008, Windows Server 2003, Windows Server 2003 with Server Pack 2. You can also use some client Microsoft operating system for virtual machine guests. For example, Windows Vita Business, Enterprise, and Ultimate with Service Pack 2, Windows 7 Professional, Enterprise, and Ultimate, Windows XP Professional with Service Pack 3, Windows XP Professional 64-bit with Service Pack 2, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, and Windows 10. Hyper-V also can let you use various Linux operating systems, for example, CentOS, Red Hat Enterprise, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 11, and Ubuntu. For better performance while running a host server and a guest server simultaneously, it would be better to have the host have more processor power, RAM, and hard disk space. Also, even though the hosts of the guest systems count as a different operating system, they will use the same resources and hardware which come for your computer, of course. This means that you must have a powerful machine to run a bunch of virtual machines. When you make a guest virtual machine, you might need to think about what kind of resources you want from the computer to be used for a guest virtual machine. You may be able to run as many guest systems as you like on Hyper-V as long as you have enough resources for each and every one of them. But one thing that should be in your mind is licensing. Since guest systems for virtual machines also need a license, you have to be very careful about which operating system you want to use. For example, if you use a Windows Server 2012 Data Center Edition on your virtual machine host, you can make an infinite amount of virtual machines for it. This is made for suitable networks that are really virtualized and require a bunch of virtual machines. As if you buy the Windows Server 2012 R2 Standard Edition on your Hyper-V host, you can have the operating system on your host and 2 other guest virtual machines. If you try to get a third one working, you would have to buy a new license for the next machine. This is basically made for connections that don't heavily rely on a lot of Windows virtual machines. This finishes my introduction on Hyper-V for you. I hope you have found this lesson helpful for you and has helped you understand what Hyper-V meant. Thanks for listening, and if you are still here, please leave a like. It would also be appreciated if you press that subscribe button as well. Thank you. Goodbye.